And leading our vampire deck tech is, of course, Edgar Markov. 4/4 for a black, white, red, and 3 other legendary creature. Vampire Knight has Imminence. Boo. Whenever you cast another vampire spell, if Edgar Markov's in the command zone or on the battlefield, create a 1/1 black vampire creature token. First strike haste. Whenever he attacks, you put a 1/1 counter on each vampire you control. Most of the time, he ain't gonna be leaving that command zone. We just playing real small vamps, getting them other vamp tokens, making a big wide board, recovering well from board wipes, and pumping our vampire team to victory. Let's get into it. And for our 41 creatures, we have Bloodflow Connoisseur, Bloodseeker, and Falcon Wrath Noble. Bloodflow Connoisseur is 2 and a black for a 1/1, sacrifice a creature, put a +1/+1 counter on Bloodflow Connoisseur. We're going to be making a lot of vampire tokens, so being able to get this up really big is nice, and we can do it at instant speed as well. Bloodseeker, whenever a creature an opponent controls enters, you may have that player lose 1 life. It's 1 and a black for a 1/1. This is really good against having just on your board when somebody's trying to go wide or make a bunch of tokens. You know they're going to lose life for making a crap ton of tokens. Falcon Wrath Noble, flying, 3 and a black for a 2/2. Whenever Falcon Wrath Noble or another creature dies, target player loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. I don't know why I said target. But this just helps, keep your board from board wipes. You can, it's like a Blood Artist, but on a flying vampire. It's pretty sick. Up next, we have Vampire Gourmand, Vampire Nighthawk, and Null Priest of Oblivion. Vampire Gourmand's 1 and a black for a 2/2. Whenever this creature attacks, you may sacrifice another creature. If you do, draw a card, and this creature can't be blocked this turn. We can somehow get him pumped up real big with the rest of our vampires. He can get in for unblockable and give us some card draw. Vampire Nighthawk, 1 black for a 2/3, flying, death touch, lifelink. Just a good body to get down, good blocker to have. Pump it up, get some life, and it also, of course, gets us a vampire token. Null Priest of Oblivion, 1 and a black for a 2/1, kicker, 3 and a black. Lifelink Menace, when this creature enters, if it was kicked, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. We can play it as a little small lifelinking menace creature that we can pump up and get the token off of, or we can kick it, which is a lot, and get a creature back. But it's directly to the battlefield, so, pretty worth it. Then we have Blood Artist, Captivating Vampire, and Indulgent Aristocrat. Blood Artist, 1 and a black for a 0/1. Whenever this creature or another creature dies, target player loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. Another one of those effects protects us from board wipes whenever we're sacking stuff. We get a little bit of stuff here and there, but mostly, get the token and gets us some protection for a big wide board. Captivating Vampire, 1 black for 2/2. Other vampire creatures you control get +1/+1. So a Lord. Tap 5 untap vampires you control, gain control of target creature. It becomes a vampire in addition to its other types. So we can swipe commanders, we can swipe whatever we want, and it'd be pretty sick. We're gonna have a lot of vampires, so we'll be able to do this, at instant speed, however many times we feel like we need to. Indulgent Aristocrat, 1 black for a 1/1, has lifelink, pay 2, sack a creature, put a 1/1 counter on each vampire you control. We'll have a ton of tokens to sack, and then just the body to get some tokens down. Next we have Olivia Valderan, Bloodline Keeper, and Creeping Bloodsucker. Olivia Valderan, 2 generic black and red for a 3/3, flying, pay 1 on a red, she deals 1 damage to another target creature. That creature becomes a vampire in addition to its other types, and we put a counter on her. And then for 3 black, we gain control of target vampire for as long as we control Olivia Valderan. So we can use this to ping off some more important pieces and then swipe them away if she doesn't get removed immediately. Next we have Bloodline Keeper, which is 2 black for a 3/3, flying. Tap, create a 2/2 black vampire creature token with flying. We can pay a black and transform it. Activate only if you can have control 5 or more vampires, and when we flip it into the Lord of Lineage, gives all our vampires +2/+2 and still has the same tap ability to make the token. Creeping Bloodsucker, 1 and a black for a 1/2. At the beginning of your upkeep, Creeping Bloodsucker deals 1 damage to each opponent. You gain life equal to the damage dealt this way. So you'll gain 3, everybody will take 1. And most importantly, off of all 3 of these pieces, don't forget, we get to make a 1/1 for each of them. How delicious. Up next we have Gifted Aetherborn, Cavalino, First of the Blessed, and Charismatic Conqueror. Gifted Aetherborn's 2 black for a 2/3, Death Touch lifelink, gets us the bodies, got a good blocker, has lifelink if we pump it. Sick. Valento, however you say it, First of the Blessed is 1 white, 1 black, and 1 other for a 2/2, and whenever you attack, target attacking vampire that isn't a demon becomes a demon in addition to its other types. It gains when this creature dies. You get to draw a card draw, which is sick. Create a tapped 4/3 white and black vampire demon creature token with flying. We can sack that vampire to our other vampires to get more value and draw a card and make a token and just so much more value. Charismatic Conqueror, 1 and white for a 2/2 Vigilance. Whenever an artifact or a creature enters the battlefield untapped and under an opponent's control, they may tap that permanent. If they don't, you create a 1/1 white vampire creature token with lifelink. Prismatic Conqueror in this deck is sick. If I forgot to mention that this is my best friend's deck list right here. He's got this deck, I don't. This Prismatic Conqueror, I hate playing against it, which makes it so good when you are piloting it. It's just great. Up next we have Maven Fane, Dusk Apostle, Champion of Dusk and Cordial Vampire. Maven Fane, Dusk Apostle is 2 and a white for a 2/2 whenever one or more non-token vampires you control attack. Create a 1/1 white vampire creature token with lifelink, so they're just making more tokens off of attack trigger. Champion of Dusk is 3 double black for a 4/4. When Champion of Dusk enters the battlefield, you may draw X cards and lose X life, where X is the number of vampires you control. So one of our card draw synergies would also get us another body. Cordial Vampire, double black for a 1/1. Whenever Cordial Vampire or another creature dies, put a 1/1 counter on each vampire you control. It's delicious. It's delicious. Gives us a bunch of 1/1 counters. It's real delicious. And with our sacking going on, that's just great. Then we have Drana, Liberator of Malakir, Patron of the Vein, and Sanctum Seeker. Drana, Liberator of Malakir, double black, and one other for a 2/3 flying. First strike, whenever Drana, Liberator of Malakir deals combat damage to a player, put a 1/1 counter on each attacking creature you control with the first strike. That's pretty sick, because Drana will get in, pump all of our vampires, and then we'll have another phase. We'll have a regular combat phase after the first strike phase, and all of our stuff will be that much stronger. Patron of the Vein, 4 and a double black for a 4/4 flying. When Patron of the Vein enters the battlefield, destroy target creature an opponent controls, so removal. And whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, exile it and put a +1/+1 counter on each vampire you control. More pumping our entire board. And then whenever creatures die, they get exiled, so it prevents any graveyard shenanigans. Sanctum Seeker, double black and 2 other for a 3/4. Whenever a vampire you control attacks, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. So even before damage, we get this attack trigger, and it's just sick. So we'll have a big wide board attacking out. Everybody will lose a lot and you'll gain a lot. It's just delicious. Next we have Twilight Prophet, Viscera Seer, and Yahenni Undying Partisan. Twilight Prophet, double black and 2 for 2/4 flying, has Ascend. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you have the City's Blessing, which is if you control 10 or more permanents, you get it for the rest of the game. But if we have it at the beginning of our upkeep, we get to reveal the top card of our library, so we get some card advantage. Put it into your hand. Each opponent loses X life, and you gain X life for X of that card's mana value, which is sick. This is the opposite spin on the more common effect, where you lose life equal to its mana value, and that's it. This one makes your opponent suffer for you having biggie stuff in there, and you gain life. Viscera Seer, 1 black for 1/1, sacrifice creatures, cry 1, gets us a body. Triggers all of our sacrifice and die abilities, and we get to scry 1, which is sick. Yahenni, Undying Partisan, 2 and a black for a 2/2 haste. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, put a +1/+1 counter on Yahenni, Undying Partisan. Sacrifice another creature. Yahenni gains indestructible until end turn. So we just give him indestructible anytime because we're making bodies. I mean, when he comes in, he'll make his own body from Edgar's Eminence ability that we can sack to make him indestructible. But this is just great for like destroys board wipes. You're like, oh crap, well I'm gonna lose all my stuff. No, I'll make Yahenni indestructible in response. And then after all your creatures die, Yahenni, you'll get X counters from all the creatures. Oh, big Yahenni. It's delicious. Then we have Cruel Celebrant, Alinda, the Dusk Rose, and Legion Lieutenant. Cruel Celebrant's a white and a black for a 1/2. Whenever Cruel Celebrant or another creature or planeswalker you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life. You gain 1 life. Another one of these effects that gets us another body. Alinda, the Dusk Rose, is 2 generic, a white and a black for 1/1 lifelink. Whenever another creature dies, put a +1/+1 counter on Alinda. When Alinda dies, create X 1/1 white vampire creature tokens with lifelink, where X is Alinda's power. So with all of our like Cruel Celebrant and Blood Artist effects and all of our sack outlets, we're going to be churning through stuff, making our vampires bigger, making big Alinda, and then we're going to sack her and make a bunch of little Alinda. Legion Lieutenant, a white and a black for a 2/2. Other vampires you control get +1/+1. It's a body. It's a lord. It's great. Up next, we have Bloodletter of Aclazotz, Amalia. Vampire of the Dire Moon. Bloodletter of Aclazotz is 1 black for a 2/4 flying. If an opponent would lose life during your turn, they lose twice that much life instead. Damage causes life loss. That's pretty sick. We can swing in, get some damage in. Then with him on the board, they'll just take double what they took during combat. Amalia. I'm not going to attempt to say the rest of it because I will say it incorrectly. White and a black for a 2/2 ward, pay 3 life. Whenever you gain life, Amalia explores, then destroy all other creatures if its power is exactly 20. Vampire of the Dire Moon, 1 black for a 1/1 Death Touch lifelink. You know, just a 1/1, 1 mana Death Touch lifelinker that gets us another creature. Then we have Vito, Thorn of the Dusk Rose, Markov Baron, and Welcoming Vampire. Vito, Thorn of the Dusk Rose, 2 and a black for a 1/3. Whenever you gain life, target opponent loses that much life. 3 and 2 black creatures you control gain lifelink until end of turn. Keep this guy on the board. Swing in, you know, and then give them all lifelink. And then when we gain all that lifelink life, they lose that much life, well, target opponent does, so you can be picky and choosy about the guy who board wiped 2 turns ago, you know? Get it and get him the damage. Markov Baron, 2 and a black for a 2/2. Convoke lifelink. Other vampires you control get +1/+1. It has Madness, 2 and a black, which is the same as its regular mana cost, but it, you know, it's got lifelink and it's a lord. Welcoming Vampire, 2 and white for a 2/3 flying. Whenever one or more other creatures with power 2 or less enter the battlefield under your control, draw a card. This ability triggers only once each turn, so a little bit of card draw there off our low power vamps. And I believe our tokens, creatures with power 2, well, I mean, if it's something big that triggers one of the tokens, when we make the token, yeah, when we make the token, we'll get to draw a card off of it. Next we have Nighthawk Scavenger, Baron, Bertram, Greywater, and Ghoul Draws Assassin. Nighthawk Scavenger, 1 double black for a 1+*3. Flying Death Touch lifelink. Nighthawk Scavenger's power is equal to 1 plus the number of card types among cards in your opponent's graveyards, which is pretty sick. Gets at the body. It's got all them flashy keywords, and it can get pretty big. Baron Bertram Greywater, 2 and Orzhov for a 3/4. Whenever one or more tokens enter the battlefield under your control, create a 1/1 Black Vampire Rogue creature token with lifelink. This ability only triggers once each turn, so, you know, if we can somehow get creatures in on our opponent's turns, we can get that extra, like, you know, 1 per turn cycle, or 4 per turn cycle instead of 1 per turn cycle. But anyway, we cast a vampire, we make a token, we make another token. And then we can pay 1 in black, sacrifice another creature or artifact, and draw cards. A little bit of card draw on there. Ghoul Draws Assassin, 1 black for a 1/1 to start. It's got level up for 1 and a black, so once it gets to levels 2 through 3, you can pay a black, tap it. Target creature gets -2/-2 until end of turn, so little removal for small stuff, and it becomes a 2/2. Once we get to level 4 plus, we can pay a black, tap it. Target creature gets -4/-4, which hits a lot of stuff, and becomes a 4/4. So it's pretty nice. Then we have Anawan the Rune Sage, Malakir Blood Witch, and Rakish Air. On that one, if that's how you say it, he's a Rune Sage. That's cool. 3 and 2 black for a 4/3. At the beginning of your upkeep, each player sacrifices a non-vampire creature. Hilarious. Malakir Blood Witch, 3 and double black for a 4/4 flying, protection from white. That's cool. When Malakir Blood Witch enters the battlefield, each opponent loses life equal to the number of vampires you control. You gain life equal to the life lost this way. So if you control 6 vampires, you know, everybody will lose 6, and you will gain 18. 6, 12, 18, right? Yeah. Pretty sick. Rakish Air, 2 and a red for a 2/2. Whenever a vampire you control deals combat damage to a player, put a 1/1 counter on it. So just steadily growing our board. Steady growing. Then last but not least, we have Stromkirk Captain and Edgar Charmed Groom. Stromkirk Captain is 1 black, 1 red, and 1 other for a 2/2 first strike. Other vampire creatures you control get +1/+1 and have first strike. Having first strike is delicious. We'll wipe people's boards if they decide to block, because our stuff is going to be so big. Be great. And finally, the other Edgar, the Charmed Groom, the Orzhov, and 2 other for 4/4. Other vampires you control get +1/+1, so he's a lord in this form. And then when he dies, you return to the battle transformed under its owner's control. I tried to say battlefield, and I shortened it to battle and field transform. Battlefield transformed under its owner's control. And it's his coffin on the other side. At the beginning of your upkeep, you make a vampire token with lifelink and put a blood counter on the coffin. And then when there are 3 or more counters on the coffin, you flip him back over into Edgar. Pretty sick. And for our 4 instants, we have Dawn's Truce, Mortify, and Boros Charm. Dawn's Truce, 1 and a white. For you and permanents you control gain hexproof until end of turn. If the gift was promised, permanents you control also gain indestructible until end of turn. So it gives hexproof and indestructible if we gift a card. It's protection. He did say he wanted to replace this with Teferi's protection itself, but the deck's going to already be quite as expensive as it is, so you may want to keep the Dawn's Truce instead of adding in the Teferi's protection. Got the Mortify, 1 white and 1 black, and 1 other. Destroy target creature or enchantment, so it's instant speed removal. Boros Charm, red and white. We can use it to deal 4 damage to a player or a planeswalker. I guess maybe finish somebody off if they only have 4 life left after our swinging in. Permanents you control gain indestructible until end of turn, so destroy board wipes we can protect from, and then target creature gains double strike until end of turn. We can use this to kind of close out a game, giving something double strike. And then lastly, we have Path to Exile. 1 white, exile target creature. Its controller searches our library for a basic land, puts on the battlefield tapped, then shuffles. Instant speed removal. And for some of the sorcery that we'll be implying, we have Diabolic Intent, Reanimate, and Dial. Diabolic Intent is 1 and a black. As additional cost to cast a spell, sack a creature, search your library for a card, put that card in your hand and shuffle, so we get a little bit of a tutor. Reanimate for 1 black, put target creature card from the graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. You lose life equal to its mana value just to get back, you know, some of our more valuable vampire pieces. Or if we chonked Edgar onto the field for some reason and then put him in the graveyard with Reanimate in hand, we get him back. And then, damn! Double black, destroy target creature. A creature destroyed this way can't be regenerated, and more normally we'll overload it for 2 and 2 white to do all creatures instead of just the one. Then we have New Blood, Olivia's Wrath, and Farewell. New Blood, double black and 2 other as additional cost to cast this spell. Tap an untapped vampire you control. Gain control of target creature. Change the text of that creature by replacing all instances of one creature type with vampire. Isn't that sick? Olivia's Wrath, 4 and a black. Each non-vampire creature gets -X until end of turn, where X is the number of vampires you control. So board wipe that gets around indestructible. Farewell, 4 and 2 white. Choose one or more. Exile all artifacts, all creatures, all enchantments, and all graveyards. Pretty litty. And then for our 7 enchantments, we have Cover of Darkness, Caretaker's Talent, and Smothering Tithe. Cover of Darkness, 1 and a black. This Cover of Darkness enters the battlefield. Choose a creature type. Creatures of the chosen type have fear, which I believe means exactly that they can only be blocked by black creatures or artifact creatures. So everything else they can't be blocked by. It makes them unblockable to those things other than artifact creatures and black creatures. Caretaker's Talent, 2 and a white. Whenever 1 or more tokens you control enter the battlefield, draw a card. This ability triggers only once per turn, so when we're casting, we're making tokens and we're getting card draw too. When this class becomes level 2, create a token that's a copy of target token you control. Another token. And then when it becomes level 4 or level 3, we get +2/+2 for all of our creature tokens, which is very nice. Pump all of our 1/1s up to 3/3s. And then everybody's all-time favorite game changer, Smothering Tithe, 3 and a white. Whenever an opponent draws a card, that player may pay 2. If that player doesn't, you create a treasure token, giving us a little bit of mana acceleration. Then we have Cathar's Crusade, Black Market Connections, and Shared Animosity. Cathar's Crusade, 3 and double white. Whenever a creature you control enters, put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. This is a great card, right? Because we're going to play a vampire. That's going to trigger Cathar's Crusade. The token from Edgar is going to trigger Cathar's Crusade, but you're going to need so many dice. If you want to put this in here, please have so many freaking dice and prepare to do math, because it's going to be ridiculous. Black Market Connections, 2 and a black. At the beginning of your pre-combat min phase, choose 1 or more. We can make a treasure token and lose a life. We can draw a card, lose 2 life. We can create a 3/2 colorless shapeshifter vampire and lose 3 life. Shared Animosity, 2 in a red. Whenever a creature you control attacks, it gets +1/+0 until end of turn for each other attacking creature that shares a creature type with it. So we swing with our big wide board of vampires. They all get +1/+1 for each other vampire that's attacking, which results in a big board. And lastly, we have Legion's Landing. For 1 white, it's a legendary enchantment. When Legion's Landing enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 white vampire creature token with lifelink. Whenever you attack with 3 or more creatures, transform Legion's Landing. It turns into a land that taps for white, and then you can pay into it to make more vampire creature tokens with lifelink. Pretty sick. And for our singular Planeswalker, we have Sorin, Imperious Bloodlord. 2 in a black, comes in with 4 loyalty. For our legendary Planeswalker Sorin, we can +1 him to give target creature we control death, touch, and lifelink until end of turn. If it's a vampire, we put a +1/+1 counter on it, which we will always be doing. We can +1, you may sacrifice a vampire. When you do, Sorin deals 3 damage to any target and you gain 3 life, so removal for some small stuff if we need it. And then -3, you may put a vampire creature card from your hand onto the battlefield. We can cheat out some of our higher cost vampires. And for our 6 artifacts, we have Patchwork Banner, Arcane Signet, and Soul Ring. Patchwork Banner, 3 generic. As it enters, we choose a creature type. Creatures of the chosen type get +1/+1 that we control, and we can tap with that a mana of any color. Arcane Signet, 2 generic, tap, add 1 mana of any color in our commander's color identity. Soul Ring, 1, tap for 2, colorless. Pretty litty. Lastly, we have Herald's Horn, Vanquisher's Banner, and Skull Clamp. Herald's Horn is 3 generic, 4. As it enters, choose a creature type, vampire. Vampire spells of the chosen type, well, creature spells that are vampires. Because we chose vampire, cost 1 less to cast. At the beginning of your upkeep, we look at the top card of our library. If it's a creature card of the chosen type, we may reveal it and put it into our hand. Vanquisher's Banner is 5 generic. As it enters, we choose a creature type. Creatures of the chosen type get +1/+1. Whenever you cast a creature spell of the chosen type, draw a card. Skull Clamp, 1 generic. Equipped creature gets +1, -1. Whenever equipped creature dies, draw 2 cards, equip 1. One note I will say about Skull Clamp, it is great source of card draw. It is delicious, especially because we're making a ton of 1/1 vampire creature tokens. However, we have so many Lord effects like Vanquisher's Banner and Patchwork Banner and all the other vampires that have Lord effects. We just need to watch out and be careful when playing them if we also have a Skull Clamp in hand. And for our 34 lands, we have City of Brass, 3 Tree City, and Luxury Suite. City of Brass, whenever it becomes tapped, deals damage to you, taps for a mana of any color. 3 Tree City, as it enters, we choose a creature type, vampire. We can tap for a color, or we can pay 2, tap it, choose a color, add an amount of mana equal to the number of creatures that we control of that chosen type, which is vampires, which will be a lot. Luxury Suite enters battlefield tapped unless you have 2 or more opponents, which in Commander you always will, and it taps for a black and a red. Then we have Reflecting Pool, Spectator Seating, and Vault of Champions. Reflecting Pool, tap it for any mana that our lands could produce. Spectator Seeding enters tapped unless you have 2 or more opponents, which your commander we always will. It taps for red and a white. And then Vault of Whispers is the same thing, taps for a white and a black. Then we have the ever-favorite command tower, Caves of Quelos, an exotic orchard. Command tower taps for 1 mana of any color and our commander's color identity. Perfect. Caves of Quelios, however you say it, tap, add a colorless, and then we can tap it for a white or a black, and it deals damage to us. Exotic orchard taps for any amount, taps for mana for a land our opponent controls produce. So you can tap it for whatever they have. Then we have Graven Cairns, Smoldering Marsh, and Tainted Field. Graven Cairns taps for a colorless, or we can pay a black and a red into it to tap it to add black, red, or double red. Smoldering Marsh, it's a land, swamp, mountain, so you can search for this one. It enters tapped unless you control 2 or more basic lands, taps for black or red. Tainted Field taps for colorless, or it taps for white or black. Activate only if you control a swamp. Then we have Tainted Peak, Blazemire Verge, and Temple of Malice. Tainted Peak taps for colorless, or taps for red or black, only if we control a swamp. Blazemire Verge taps for a black and or taps for a red. We can only activate if we control a swamp or a mountain. Temple of Malice, it enters tapped. We get to scry 1, and it taps for a black and a red. We have Temple of Silence, Savad Triome, and of course our Cavern of Souls. Temple of Silence enters tapped, scry 1, taps for white or black. Savas Triome is a mountain, plain, swamp, so you can search for it. It enters tapped, and it taps for red, white, or black. And then Cavern of Souls, as it enters, choose creature type vampire, taps for a colorless, and we can tap it, spend 1 mana of any color, and then we can only spend that mana to cast a creature spell of the chosen type, and that spell can't be countered. Delicious. Then we have Bloodstained Mire, Isolated Chapel, and Nomad Outpost. Bloodstained Mire, we can tap it, pay 1 life, sack it to search our library for a swamp or a mountain card, the other ones that I was talking about earlier, or just basics, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle. Isolated Chapel enters the battlefield tapped unless you control a plains or a swamp, and then it taps for white or black. And Nomad Outpost enters the battlefield tap, and it taps for red, white, or black. Then we have Path of Ancestry, Vault of the Archangel, and Blood Crypt. Path of Ancestry, when it enters tapped, and then we can tap, add 1 mana of any color in our commander's color identity. When we use that mana to spend it on a creature spell that shares a creature type with our commander, which a lot of them will, we get to scry 1. Vault of the Archangel taps for a colorless, or we can pay into it, or resolve in 2 other, and tap it, and then all creatures we control gain Death Touch and Lifelink until end of turn, which is pretty sick. Blood Crypt, Swamp Mountain, so you can search for it, and then, you can tap it for a black or a red, and if as it enters, you can pay 2 to have it come in untapped. If you don't, it enters tapped. Then lastly, we have Castle Dracula, which is Valdarin Estate, and our swamps, mountains, and plains. Castle Dracula, tap, add a colorless, tap, pay 1 life, add 1 mana of any color, spend this mana only to cast a vampire spell, and then 5, tap, create a blood token. This ability costs 1 less to activate for each vampire you control, and blood tokens are pay 1, sack it, discard, then draw a card. That'll be all for this Edgar Markov deck tech. Tell me how you like the deck, so I can give the critique straight from you to my friend DK. Tell him what he did wrong, tell him how annoying and terrible he is for playing Edgar Markov. But he swears up and down that he has so much fun with it. And I've played it before, and it is really fun when you're piloting it. But please subscribe, guys. We're growing. We need to get to 500. We need to get to 500 subscribers. Y'all could help me with that. I'd be much appreciated. Thank y'all for watching. Have a great day. Bye.